Thank you very much. So we had a great time today. So what we're going to learn about is how to what? Increase your brain power. Now, how would you do that? How we do this. This is going to be a fun thing. And once you learn this, it's something you probably will never forget it because it's so easy. You can do this. Everything I teach you at these monthly lectures or workshops, if you mess it up, the worst thing that will happen is nothing. So it's like the safety net. However, if you need it and you do it right, you're going to get some pretty good benefit. And that's why I think about these. This is a new technique I thought of myself. I took a complicated technique and made it really simple to make your brain actually work better. And that's what I'm going to start off with. So looking at that chart here, you can see how the brain sends messages to the spinal cord, to all the organs. And so when there's a misalignment, a subluxation as we call that, it interferes with those brain impulses going to those organs. And that's really the essence of life. But remember, you have to always remember one thing. When you have a subluxation in your spine, 90% of the time you don't have pain in your back. You really don't. Only 10% of the time. So you could be walking around feeling great and you're out of whack. And every time you have symptoms, any kind of symptoms in your back, your stomach, internal organs, constipation, diarrhea, it's because you have a bone out of place called a subluxation. And we as chiropractors fix that. And so that's very important to remember this. I know I say this every month, but you got to get it, because if you're not a patient here, most of you are, but if you're not, you really should be. Because if you want to live long and have a happy, healthy life, this is the answer. And now when you look at this chart and you listen to what I'm saying to you, you go, oh yeah, you know what? That sounds really good, doesn't it? Who wants proof? Everyone wants proof. Here's a public fact that 1/3 of the United States will die of a heart attack. It's not my opinion, it's a public fact. 1/3. I don't think we're set up to die that quickly. And at a young age. I just heard of someone just die of a heart attack. He's younger than me, he's 54. Wow, yeah. Unbelievable. Just like a couple of weeks ago. I've been practicing for 30 years and I haven't had anybody under my care die of a heart attack. Not yet. And it's just not me. People who do applied kinesiology throughout the country, their numbers are zero or next to zero. Now, same thing with cancer. 1/3 of the people will die of cancer. Now, I had one person came in. I'm not sure if he had cancer. He may have had when he got it. But if I had one person, it'd be one person out of 30 years, 17,000 cases in 30 years. 1/3 of the people that will die of cancer. That's a lot of people dying. So the fact is I haven't had anybody die of a heart attack and possibly one person of cancer. What does that tell you? This is the essence of life. You gotta have your spine checked. No matter how good you're feeling, this is the answer. So if you're not a patient, you should be. Now if you look at the front page here, what we see is the doctor of the future will give no medicine. Who would like to finish the rest of that? Well, David, you can do that.
But will interest her or his patients in the care of the human frame, in a proper diet, and in the cause and prevention of disease.
And that's what I'm doing. Thomas Edison said that in the 1880s. And I'm doing that right now. I don't give drugs. I think that's terrible. Everything, the frame is where we're all talking about. And that leads us to the second page that you have there. You see that triangle there? You see the structure on the bottom, chemical and mental. And structure is on the base of the triangle. And it's not a coincidence that it's there. Everything hinges on, can someone read what it says there? Maybe David, want to do that again? You're a good reader.
Man possesses a potential for recovery through the innate intelligence of the human structure.
So structure, what it boils down to. So let's say, for example, I'll give you a couple of examples. Let's say you had a fight with your husband or your wife or your significant other. You're going to be all emotional, you're going to be all upset. What's that's going to happen is it's going to inhibit hydrochloric acid secretion in your stomach, you see? And so if you look at that triangle, you got your mental component. Let's say you got a stressful situation. All of a sudden it's flipped over to the chemical component. So what does that mean? Everything you eat isn't going to absorb, including all your minerals. And if you're not absorbing your minerals, your muscles are going to get very, very tight. You're going to pull things out of place, and then before you know it, you have subluxations, and then it's trickled down to the structural part of the triangle. So that fight you had with somebody, or somebody cut you off in traffic, knocked something out of place in your spine, and you don't feel it until you're 20 or 30 years later and you have a stomach ulcer. And that's how that whole thing works. And here's a real common one. People come in, they have never done a detox in their life. So all their Your blood's full of these impurities. So the liver is where everything filters through. It's like an oil filter. You know, I'll never forget, I was a kid. I think I was just in high school, and I went to get an oil change, and I didn't have enough money to have a filter, so I asked the mechanic, tell you what, just change the oil, but leave the filter in. And he started laughing so hard he fell off the ground laughing. I go, what's so funny? See, are you crazy? You got to change the filter because you have all that dirty oil in there. If you put clean oil in and you leave that dirty oil filter in, it's going to contaminate everything, and you're going to have a dirty engine and right away. So I kind of got it, you know. So I spent the extra, in those days, you know, it was only a few extra dollars for an oil filter. This is our oil filter, our liver, you see. If we don't clean that out, what happens? You get all these impurities in your bloodstream. That's the chemical component on that triangle. And then before you know it, the muscles get tight because the muscles have blood flow to them. If they have all these irritants, these toxins, yucky stuff, it's going to pull bones out of place. You're going to get that subluxation. And before you know it, you will have symptoms in your back. You really will. Give it enough time. And so people who are toxic and tired and sluggish, it's because they have to have their liver detoxed and they're out of place. They have subluxations, all because of that. So it keeps going in a vicious circle. And so if you look at these circles around the triangle, the first one is in, that's nervous system. That's the spine, how we fix. So whenever you have symptoms, we have to always check the spine. What's the next one on the list? Neurolymphatic, that's the NL. We did that lecture a few months ago, how we can treat the lymphatic system. NV is neurovascular, which is the blood flow to all the organs. CSF is what we're going to talk about today, cerebral spinal fluid. And last is AMC, acupuncture meridian connectors. These are all the things that you would do if you have symptoms. Now today we're going to talk about CSF because your brain's right here. And what do most people do all day? I say the majority of the people, they sit in front of a computer, right? Mm-hmm. Yeah. Big deal, right? Well, actually it is. Because what happens, if you're in front of a computer, are you going to be sitting upright, erect? Eventually, after an hour or two, you're going to go, and you're going to slouch. What happens is your cranial bones go, oh, and they slam together. They really do. It's kind of hard not to slouch if you're in front of a computer all day long, right? So what happens is when your cranial bones go in, it compromises your brain function. It really does. Now, for years and years, I've been practicing for many years, I've been doing cranial corrections, and I thought of a way to have the lay public do it without pushing on the cranials, on the head. Because our bodies have electromagnetic energy fields. You can actually guide your bones in place yourself. It's not a complete correction like I would give a person here, but tell you what, it's really effective. It's really effective. I thought about this about a month ago, and I've never shown anybody here. So what we're going to do is we're going to do a demonstration, and we'll show you how we can increase your brain power. And you can do this any place and any time. I'll show you how you can do it on your own. So who wants to volunteer here? I would. David, all right, come on up. So what we're going to do is turn on the third page here. It's a step-by-step procedure. And the first thing we do is what? What's step number one?
Find a strong
Fine. So let's say if you're strong. I hope you are. Elbows straight. And that's it. And always stand beside the person, by the way. Don't stand in front of them because you have more of a mechanical advantage. Now somebody like Danny here, you'll have to do this sitting because you're pretty strong, Rosemary. So you'll have to have the mechanical advantage over Dan. But I've been muscle testing for a long time, so I can sense he's probably better than a lot of people here. So we're going to go ahead and test and push hard and go. Okay. Hey, you made it. Good. All right. Hey, how you doing? Good to see you. How you doing? What's the second step?
Range of motion.
Yeah. So cross your arms. Come step a little forward here, David. So I want you to observe which side is going to be restricted. I have no idea. Can you come?
Should I face you?
You're good, I guess. Whatever. Doesn't matter.
Okay.
So let's cross your arm. Can everyone see?
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
More or less? Okay, I want you to twist as far as you can to the left. Oh, don't move your feet though. Let's start from the beginning again. And twist as far as you can to the left. Now that seems a little restricted. I don't know. Let's see how far you can go to the right. Now you go much further. Do you see that, by the way? Yeah. That's more than I would normally see. Can you feel that difference, David? You definitely aren't going very far to the left. I mean,
Right.
yeah, okay.
That's easier this one.
Much easier. I mean, yeah, so that's the second. What's the third step?
Full breath in and hold it.
Can somebody read that out for me? Because I want you to make sure you get this. I mean, I can do this in my sleep.
Take a full breath in.
Yeah, so I need your arm again here. So watch how we do this.
Whole breath.
Yeah, first take a breath in, hold your breath in, and I want you to resist. And you know, I'll tell you, this is a little unusual. When you do this test on each other, most of the time, I'd say 90% of the time when you take a breath in, if you're strong already, you're gonna stay strong. It's when you take a breath out is when you're gonna go weak.
Okay.
Most of the people in here, unusual for David, but it doesn't matter. The treatment's going to be the same anyways. So when he took a breath in, his right arm went weak. Let's try this side here. Take a big breath in. The same thing there. So what that means, by the way, if you want to know, if you breathe in, you go weak. His whole body's probably in a state of agitation. It's all hyped up. So taking a bigger breath in just shuts everything down temporarily. So here's the best part, is the correction. So you put your, what's the next step? I want you to read it out loud, somebody.
Test the strong arm muscle and observe it going weak as the person holds it with a breath.
Okay, and what's the next step?
If the strong arm muscle doesn't weaken, have the person exhale and hold it.
Right, well
Don't
that's,
inhale.
we don't need to do that because you want to weaken on the breath in. So what's the next step?
While holding the exhale, you test the strong arm muscle and observe it going weak.
Okay.
Repeat 1 through 6 on the other arm. Next is to make the correction,
part.
cup. Okay, to make the correction, cup both hands over ears, making sure thumbs are behind on the bone below the ears.
Do not, let me repeat this, do not press, touch. Don't dig into your head, okay? This is, you're just touching. You're using your electromagnetic energy fields to touch. And if you're doing this, I'll show you how you can do this at home on your own. You should do this always standing. And the bones behind the ear. Now all you gotta do is take a breath in, David, and take a breath out. See how slow he's doing it? That's how you should do it. Don't hyperventilate. Take another breath in. Breathe out. You do this about 4, 5, 6 times.
But why do you have to stand up to do it effectively?
Because what you're doing is you're unwinding the meninges all the way down the spinal cord.
Okay.
So it's a lot better if you're standing up. And keep breathing.
Let's go. What are the meninges?
They line the spinal cord.
Okay.
And so when you sit down all day in front of a computer, they get all crinkled and rotated and stuck. Doing this, actually standing, and when you're breathing, try to even stand more erect with each breath in.
Okay.
And what you're doing is you're guiding the bones and anywhere here back in alignment. It really works.
Really?
Yes, it does. It's pretty amazing. Keep breathing.
About how many breaths would you say?
Oh, yeah, half a dozen maybe, and it should be enough. Is that about 6 you did, David? Okay, you should be. Now watch this. Let's retest everything. It's really quite simple. And I want you to take a big breath in, hold your breath in and push. Breathe out and push. Yeah, so you're not going weak in the breath in, and I'll do the other arm. Breathe in and then breathe out. No, I don't want to be more confused. On some people, you'll see them go weak on a breath in. On some people, you'll see them go weak on a breath out. That's a little unusual too. You might see that. The majority of people, if you find this today, is they'll go weak on a breath out. That's what you'll see on most people. So we did the correction. Here's the moment of truth. Let's cross your arms. Watch this. Are you ready for this? He was restricted to what side? Nice. You feel that difference?
Yeah, you're right. Actually, it is.
Yeah, you can see me there. How you doing?
Yeah, he's actually in good shape.
Yeah.
And what we just did, we actually let the brain work better. It's a systemic effect.